So today is all about a spotlight on back to basics hierarchy in Talis Aspire. And this is our spotlight as part of our product update webinar. So this is what we're going to be looking at. We tend to plan our webinars to make sure that we're fitting in with key themes. So if you remember last month, we did a spotlight on a rollover, and we found that we're getting a few support cases and questions on hierarchy. So we thought it'd be good to do a refresher on this subject today. So what are we going to be covering? First of all, I've got a couple of questions to start an opening discussion. We'll then have a look and I'll explain what the hierarchy does. I will give you some examples of different hierarchies and then talk you through the process, both through a manual hierarchy update and through bulk as well. And then, as always, as part of our webinars, we'll open the floor to questions. I am also joined by my colleague David Renfrew, who will support me in terms of facilitating questions. So really just wanted to start by understanding how often you do update your hierarchy. So what I've done, if this works okay, is I've got a poll. So you should see a option to answer some questions on a quick poll, just for us to get a snapshot of how universities work and how you use the hierarchy. So I'll give that a little while for you to fill that in. I can see the numbers are changing frequently. So yeah, I think that's nearly most of you that have voted. See if that number's changed anymore. No, I think that is all of you. So what I should now be able to do is share those results. So what we can see is that 18% of you have a look at you updating your hierarchy every 6 months. So between semesters, I would imagine there. Just under half of you are doing these annually, which makes sense. And that's in line with what we're seeing in support cases as well. 24% of you are doing ongoing, and then there's some with the other. I wasn't sure what to put as your option for other. So yeah, majority is annually or ongoing, looking at that. So I just thought it'd be useful for you to take a look and understand what other universities are doing. Though, just out of interest, and we can pick up on this later in the questions as well, that if it's other, is that less frequent than that or more frequent? So if you could pop that in the questions box, I think that might be quite useful. The 12%, that might have just been 1 or 2 people, and we can take a look at that. Okay, so that is the yeah, just a snapshot of the poll, and then I'll just close that and go back to my slides. So we're back on our slides now, and then I've just got a second question for you, is which formats do you update your hierarchy? So I will just launch this poll now, and you've just got 2 options with this one, so not as many to choose from. So is that by manually or through the bulk upload? It's hovering between 2 figures at the moment, and I can see there's a couple more of you to vote, so I'll just leave that moment. Okay, that seems to have stabilised, so I will close that and share the results. So you should now be seeing the results now. So 38% of you do this manually. They may be, I would imagine, those of you who are doing that ongoing and that does that manually, and 63% through the bulk upload process. And I'll be going through both of these. So yeah, thank you for that. I think that's really interesting to just hear. It does also vary on size as well, I would imagine, in terms of, you know, how many courses and modules may be changing, and of course the way your hierarchy is structured, and I'll come on to that a little bit later on. Got a couple of comments here. So yeah, so Nick at Southampton, so you're probably looking at both updating by manually and bulk upload. And Hazel bulk upload, but might use manual due to mid-year tweaks. For example, if a new module has missed the cut-off date for being included in the report of the student record system. Okay, Hazel, yes, that makes sense. So you're making those changes if it hasn't been captured in the main upload and the report. So the mixture of both, a good way to do that, because you're using both ways of the system to achieve what you need to. Okay, so I'll just close that. So thank you for taking part in that. I think it's useful for you to see and hear what others do. So I should have just closed that. So questions for me to answer now. So first of all, I'm just going to take you through the many purposes and functions of what the hierarchy serves in Talis Aspire. And to do this, I've got this slide to just explain. So the hierarchy in Talis Aspire reading list plays an important part to lots of different elements of the system and processes, and these are just outlined here. So it can assist in searching from the reading list homepage, and it can feed information to allow you to scope list publisher permissions to those staff requiring access to lists, so that they're only accessing those lists or that particular, whether that's a node or a unit or whichever terminology which you use. For those of you who are looking at digitisations, it assists with those as well, because your course code carries through there from the digitisation request form. It really helps with reporting, and there's so much you can do with reporting, including the reports in Talis Aspire and also the management information dashboard reports as well. I will explain that a little bit later on. LTI, so this is the tool which is used to link your VLE, that's Canvas, Blackboard, Moodle, to Talis Aspire. So it actually looks at two things, the integration. It takes the time period of the list, and it also takes the hierarchy code as well. So it does a best guess match between the two, which is again another reason why having a hierarchy is important. Just realised the one that I missed there is the linked student entitlements. This is an option. It's not one that we see a lot of. It's great that students get access to their lists, and actually that they're looking at their list they need to, rather than locking that down further. But it can be an option if those permissions are released through. And if you want some more information on that, we raise a ticket and we can take a look at that with you. So that's what the hierarchy does. And as I mentioned, we understand with our Talis Aspire community, there are so many variations of institutions in terms of size and structure. So this is an example of what we would refer to as a hierarchy with multiple levels. So this may be similar to what your hierarchy looks like. You may have different names for things. So at the very top, we've got institution, followed by module, sorry, I've just realised I should say faculty, followed by school, and then the module sitting under that as well. That really helps with reporting as well, so you can look at different multiple levels. So apologies for that. Those ones in the teal on the second level should all say faculty, little typo there. So this could be a way that you've structured your hierarchy that reflects how your university looks. And as I say, we've got lots of different terms we can use. There's the name course as well. Program is another one that we see. So each square on the chart is referred to as a node, and each node has a name as well as a code. The codes need to be unique. However, the names can be whichever that you'd like or choose to. So that just gives you an example of what we would refer to as a multiple level hierarchy. So moving on, this is what we would call a flatter structure of a hierarchy, where simply the modules are sitting straight under the institution. There isn't levels between. For those of you looking at enhanced reporting in terms of management information dashboard, and also the advanced MIS, where you can really delve deeply into the data, we would advise you to build your hierarchy within Talis Aspire that has multiple structures, because it can make the reporting and the results that you get out from that a lot more meaningful and a lot more detailed as well. But for smaller institutions, that may be how your hierarchy is structured. So I did just mention management information dashboard, and what I just wanted to show you is what this looks like. So this is an example institution who have a number of different levels, so whether that's faculties and schools, departments, etc. So hovering on each of these, this is a screenshot, but hovering on each of these, it will give you the code and it will give you the percentage coverage as well. So you can see with the multiple level hierarchy, and not just because it looks pretty with the colours, the sizes of the circles represent the size, and having that multiple tiered hierarchy really does help you make the best of these reports. So there's an example to show you what that can look like if you're going down that route. On the flip side of that, if this is an institution example who have a flat hierarchy, so their modules or reading lists are linked directly off the institution. So you can see here the difference in terms of getting that information out and being able to drill down more into that. Certainly you can still get your percentages and your coverage by hovering over the circles, but the management information dashboard, having those multiple levels, does make that more meaningful and get more from that data. So just wanted to share those with you. So what we're going to do now is take a look at the two different options for the hierarchy update. So as you, some of you do the manual update, this is useful for when you only have a few nodes or codes to update. Then the bulk update is if you are updating a lot of data, including different levels of nodes, parents and student numbers. So I'm going to start by talking to you about the manual one first. So I think the first important thing to say is that within the role of the person that are making these changes, they need to have the edit nodes permission. If they don't have the edit nodes permission, you won't be able to do these updates. Currently, the default roles that we set up in Talis Aspire, this is available for those who have the system administrator role, or the role which is not quite as widely used called node editor. However, if it is that you have got colleagues perhaps that do reviews or in library acquisitions that you'd like them to be able to do these updates as well, we can simply add that as a permission to that or any other role in reading lists. So to do that, just simply raise a support case and we can do that for you. So when you do have the permission, you can edit the type, for example, module, course or unit, its name, its code, the student numbers, and also where that sits in the hierarchy, i.e. what does it sit under. We have got a support article from our support site which contains a video tutorial on this process. So that will be linked to this recording as well to guide you through that, or perhaps any new colleagues. Okay, so this one will use a few more slides, a few more steps, because this is about the bulk hierarchy upload. So to start with, just to explain what the bulk hierarchy upload does, it allows you to make additions, deletions, update modules and merge modules. It also allows you to add the student number information for use in reviews and copyright clearance requests. It's really important to note here that the figure that's added is overridden by the list student numbers. So for example, if the bulk hierarchy upload states that a particular node has 50 students, then the list publisher comes along and changes that figure, let's just say to 60, that is the source of truth. So when it comes to the review, that is what is there. the bulk upload updates the student numbers to the node, and that's the important thing to point out there. Okay, so that's what it does. And the data format, and I've actually linked to this support article, it's actually one that I refer to in support cases as well. It gives you the overview of which columns need to be present. And there's a handy table, actually, I'll just click onto this. There's a handy table within this support article as well, written by our colleague Tim. So just scroll down a little bit, and this table is really useful. So when you're constructing the files, it tells you what needs to be in each column, and also if that's mandatory or not. So, for example, the student numbers isn't a mandatory field. So I'll just close that and go to my slides again. We do state you need to make a separate file for each level of the hierarchy, and you start from the top down. So, for example, your faculty codes first, followed perhaps by school or unit and department. There's plenty of scope and size within them. There's a limit of 15,000 lines per file. Not heard touch of anyone needing any more than that, because it is per level. And what you would do is upload each one in a separate file, and you refer to the support article, which I've linked to there. What I will say, and we do frequently do this through support tickets, if you have any questions about specifics of your file that you'd like us to take a look at, please do, and we can work through that with you through support tickets. Okay, so this is a map of the process to complete when you are using the bulk hierarchy upload. So as I mentioned, first of all, starting on the far top left, you would prepare the files and then upload the hierarchy. Just to reassure you, no changes are made at that point. It does what we call a dry run. So it basically validates the contents. Are there failures? And gives you that information. So let's start on the happy path, as my colleague would say. The dry run completes, everything goes through fine. You then are prompted to initiate the update, and then that would then complete the hierarchy update. If there are failures, you can export the exemption report to view those. And again, that's where we would encourage you, if there is something in that exemption report that you're not sure of, do let us know via a support case, and we can work that through with you. And then you would just go through the loop again. So any exemptions reports details to tweak or amend the files, and then just go through the process again. What can happen is that you may get an exemption because you've uploaded your top level, but that may have only been as a dry run. So, for example, you've changed some parent codes of a faculty, and then you've uploaded your module. Your faculty run needs to go through live. So then when you do run your module file, it's got those parent codes to sit under. But again, just to reassure you, this is an overview of the process, and do let us know if there's anything we can help with in support. So just breaking that down, this is to help you for your reference. And in terms of the steps that are taken, the presence of data in those mandatory fields determine that an action is to be taken. The VLE does ask which lists you have for a certain module, and as I stated, we encourage you to have separate files for each level of the hierarchy with that file size limit. And again, just another link to that useful article there. These are some screenshots of what it looks like. So when you first upload a file, and when I first started testing this myself, it's making sure that the file is in a CSV format. So straight away, if that isn't in a CSV format, there'll be a message from the system to say about making sure it's the correct format. When I mentioned about the dry run, it happens in the background, and you will have a message when that's gone through your email. So your email will notify you when that's gone on. Just like any other bulk jobs in Talis Aspire, you can carry on working on the system. There's no downtime. Lists can still be edited, reviews can still be done. And yeah, so when you've sent up the dry run, that's the message that you'll get. It's managed, and you can see the progress in that review jobs screen. So it will tell you one of these 4 statuses. We don't see the third one that often at all. So we can see here in this case, this is one that I'd set running, and we've got in progress. If you are curious as to how long it is, you can, on that actions 3 dots, you can click on that and it will tell you how many it's through, so where it's a percentage. So if you are particularly wanting to keep an eye on it to do an action after, you can take a look there. And as I mentioned, you will get notified by email as well that that's gone through. Okay, so mentioned earlier about the exemption report. So if there are exemptions, you can see again from this actions menu, and I'm just highlighting in that screen there, export exemption report. So take a look at any exemptions that you've got, and anything that you want help with, we can advise through a support case any action to take. And just a reminder, the dry run doesn't actually alter the hierarchy. It is only when you initiate the hierarchy update from the actions menu on a successful dry run will those changes be uploaded. So I hope you found that useful as a refresher, and thank you for taking part in the polls as well. We are happy to, I say we because I'm hoping David is still there, happy to take any questions that you may have. David, are there any questions?
No questions, Emma, but a couple of comments from Hazel, who's clearly spent a lot of time playing with the hierarchy. So she's made a sort of general comment, which others might find useful actually, about how often they do a bulk update. So this year, she says they've agreed for the first time to try splitting the bulk update into 2. So they're going to add new modules as soon as they can get them in a report of what's running, so hopefully this month. But they won't actually be removing the dead modules until the very end of the summer, because that can cause some problems if they're running in semester 2 or they have any resits going on. So yeah, they're going to see if splitting it works better for them. So yeah, Hazel, keep us updated on that. It would be interesting to hear. And she also
thanks, Hazel. Yeah, that's sorry. Yeah, that's really interesting to hear. I'm definitely looking forward to on our next catch-up call when you've done that. I think that'd be really useful. Sorry, yeah, carry on.
That your diagram about going round, you know, do the dry run, get exceptions, fix exceptions, try again, is very familiar.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think it can depend on the scale of changes of what's happening as well. I know some universities that I've spoke to the last 18 months or so, with things what's happened, there's been really big scale changes. So actually there's been quite a lot to delve into in terms of levels and things, and it has caused that. But just to reassure you, having that accurate and up to date is great for student searching, for reports, and lots of other reasons as well. Are there a few more now, David?
Oh God, they're streaming in now. So, question Laura. Is there any way the bulk hierarchy upload changes can be fed back into associated digitization requests? So, the simple answer is, at this point, no. When you say changes, are we talking changes to course codes or changes to student numbers or both? If we can get clearer on what you would want fed back, that is something we could certainly take to the product team for something we could look at in the future.
Thanks, David. Yeah, I was going to say the same. We can log that, but for that context, Laura, either pop it in the question box, or if there is a lot more detail, Laura, do raise a ticket as well. We can route it through the process that way.
Yes, she has said both course codes and student numbers. So I'm just making a note of that while we speak.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, question for the product team, Laura, but as Emma says, do tick it if you've got more detail on that.
Just as David's noted that, Thomas, I can see you've stated you'd be interested to know if most universities delete old modules or if anyone leaves them in the system. I'd like to open that to the floor, really. If you can pop that in the questions box. I think also, Thomas, it'd be good for a future webinar if I can include that on a poll as well. So those introductory polls, that might be useful. Let's see where we're at then. So there might be some. Oh yeah, okay. So Karen's replied on that one. Just been working through deleting them. Phil has said at Gloucester we tried to archive old modules, and Hazel said, Thomas, we delete old modules because otherwise we can't run meaningful reports on the proportion of modules that do and don't have lists. Tom, I hope that's useful. Are there any others, David?
There's one from Nick, which we've gone over. Emma, can you please go back to your original slide, clock style slide, which showed the purpose of the hierarchy? Can you clarify what you mean regarding limiting access?
Yeah, sure. Let's see if I can do this a nicer way rather than you physically see me go through the slides. I don't think there is. I'm just going to jump back. I think you mean this one. So I'm okay to take this, David, if that's all right. Yeah, so what can happen is that, so just as if we talk about authentication first of all and devolve constraints, where you could set a person to log in and recognise if they are an academic and automatically give them the list publisher role. So if those details are released in the background from your single sign-on, we can put that information in and set up devolve constraints. So in terms of entitlements, that works the same way. That can work the same way. So we can send you the support article explain on this. So the hierarchy can help with that as well. So say, for example, you have an academic that is linked to a particular module or course, and therefore you want them to only create lists for this particular module, or you only want students on this particular module to access those details. If the information is released, and I think that's the key part, it depends what we can see in the background through your IDP, if there is an attribute for job role and course or level. David, correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I hope that helps, Nick. But yeah, we can certainly discuss that on a future call as well and send you the support articles. Okay, I'll leave that up for now. We were just on questions. So where were we? So that was Thomas's question.
I think we're good, Emma. There were people feeding back about deleting old modules because it's difficult to run meaningful reports, on what proportion do and don't have modules. And Robin made the point that they delete where they can, but they've got a number of biennial modules and ones that run even less frequently, so they do need to be careful. And that is something we hear from other institutions as well, Robin, I can assure you.
Yeah, okay, no, Nick, that's fine, we can pick that up. And yes, it can be locked down if you wanted to do that, if the attributes are released. Just refresh another time. Don't think we have got any more. Thank you for attending. It's great to see you all here on this very sunny afternoon, and I hope it's been of a useful refresher for you on this. As always, we make sure that we have got a webinar suite of different topics, and here's just some of our upcoming ones. We've got the end of this month. We do always share what webinars are in our Australian and New Zealand region. If you're curious about how they manage copyright clearance requests, you can certainly register for that webinar they're all recorded, so we still have that process where if you register and obviously don't attend in the middle of the night, you can have that recording sent to you. Then we have our regular product update webinar, which we're having on the 21st of July. And then later in July, we'll be doing another sort of spotlight webinar on the learning process, and that will all be about management information dashboard. So even if you haven't got a management information dashboard, if you're curious to know what it could do, or if you have it and that you're not really sure how to make the best of it, please do register to either attend or listen back on that. I know it's maybe holiday time as well. And as always, we have our webinars on our events page, which I've got the link there. Thank you for that comment, Ash. I'm glad that that's been useful. I'll just refresh a couple more times, but I think we are good for questions again now, David.
Yeah, nothing else showing, just a couple of thank yous.
Okay, that's brilliant. And yeah, we made it just over the half hour as well. So if you scoped out an hour for this, enjoy some time back, which would be useful. And yeah, we'll speak to you all soon. Thank you. And thanks for helping with the questions, David.
No worries. Bye, everyone.
Bye.